I mean, seriously guys, just look at the size of this thing. Hey guys, a new online shopping outlet is a sponsor for this review of Ulefone Power Armour 14. So do check them out, especially that ever since Brexit it's harder and harder to select items and tech gadgets that are actually shipped to the UK, so I appreciate swiftly shipping from Heka.com, and I'm gonna include the link in the description of this video. Now that the message from the sponsor is out of the way, let's play with this beast of a phone. And this thing is huge. Okay, this is an empty box because I already take it out, obviously. But this thing is huge, and inside the box you're gonna find a charger, charging cable, and two screen protectors. One's already factory applied to the screen, and one slightly more durable. Both of them are in a bin because I hate those things. This is the phone we're talking about, and this is, there was like half naked lady in there. I don't think this is suitable for YouTube. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I am using Xiaomi Mi 11, which I reviewed in this video here, so that's not going to end up as my primary driver, but I did use it as my secondary driver, replacing Doji, whatever they want to call it, S87, which I also reviewed and dropped several times on the concrete in that video there. But we are focusing on Ulefone Power Armour 14 for a reason, because if you look at the specification, this phone is actually very well spec'd. I was genuinely surprised how many functions they managed to cram. Okay, it's not hard, considering the size of the phone, to cram in those functions, but it's hard to offer all those functions and keep the price of the phone at £113 right now, ish, depending on the promotion, so do check it out because I might fluctuate a little bit. So, in a nutshell, this is a very inexpensive phone. And what a phone that is! First of all, it's called Power Armour, which means that's not going to affect it, especially that there is a carpet in here. But even with tiles with a military certification, it's been tested to 1.5 meter drops on a concrete, something I did previously with the phone just to prove a point. So, these things are hard. So, let me pick it up. The only metal elements on the phone are on the sides, protecting the phone from side impacts, and the back shell is made from some sort of composite plastic, which is shock resistant, and slightly rubberized corners to cushion all those drops that definitely gonna happen to this phone. But the start of the show, no, it's not the screen, it's the thickness of the phone and the fact that it contains a 10,000 mAh battery, which means you're gonna be running this for days, even with a quite heavy use. In my scenario, when I'm running it as a secondary phone with all the notifications turned on and me occasionally checking on stuff, it can last up to 12 days, which is insane. And at this point we probably should address the display, which is 6.52, it's massive, it's LCD SP panel, so it has a nice contrast, beautiful colors, no matter the angle, and slightly unimpressive resolution. I'm gonna touch on that in a second. As we're having the phone overview from the outside, it's worth noting a headphone jack at the top, USB type charging at the bottom alongside a speaker, and on the side you'll find volume buttons and a power button with a fingerprint sensor. This is the first time I have a device like this. On the S86 the fingerprint was located just below that. On the other side, you still have that really nice customizable button, and it's not as easily pressed as on S86, which is nice. However, I would still hesitate adding any shortcuts that don't require unlocking the phone to a single press, just in case. Instead of going through all the feature list of this phone, which you probably checked out on the other sides anyway, I'm gonna focus on the most important things that surprised me, worked well or not so well, and I'll focus on the feel on the phone. Since the phone is quite big and heavy, it's not going to be suited for anyone that is hoping to use it with a single hand. In fact, I was not able to reach out to the other side of the screen, even though my hands aren't the smallest. And frankly speaking, even if I shifted the keyboard to one side to make it easier, it was not an experience you would like to have. But that's okay, because you're not paying for a small phone, you're paying for a brick, a bulletproof brick. And with all the resistance and waterproofing, you'll be able to take and submerge this phone in the water to 1.5 meters for up to 30 minutes, snap a couple of shots with the dedicated underwater setting, and take it out and abuse it some more because, God, this is sturdy. I already mentioned the inclusion of NFC, which means you have a Google Play, great, and the wireless charging, which is awesome. However, you can't use that 10,000 milliamps battery to charge all the devices, whether it's a wireless charging or via USB Type-C. It's a USB Type-C port, but it's USB 2.0, let's face it. You're definitely gonna notice when the phone is in your hand or in your pocket because of its weight and the size. But other than that, it actually feels nice in the hand. It's stiff, it's hard, it's not bendable. You can sit on it, step on it, and it will survive. I was surprised how quickly I got used to the fingerprint reader being on the power button itself. However, frankly speaking, most of the time I'm just using a face unlock because that's also included, and, well, it's not the fastest one, but it's definitely not keeping me waiting, which is kudos for Ulefone. Let's talk about the most important thing, which is gonna be a display. One of the things I really agree with is not offering very fancy display for battery conservation reason. I mean, okay, you've got 1600 by 720 in 20:9 aspect ratio. But in fact, after watching a couple of media videos and some YouTube, I can assure you that it's very adequate, it's very bright, and even in a full direct sunshine I had no problem using the phone or consuming the media. While this aspect ratio is not going to work for everything, it's nice to have the ability to pinch to zoom on YouTube videos to watch more cinematic content. And if you don't like the notch for the selfie camera, then you can hide it using the options in the Android settings. What you see at the back are 3 cameras and a flash. Well, technically speaking, you have one decent camera, which is 20 megapixels, and one depth camera, one macro camera with 2 megapixels, so they don't really count, and a selfie, which is 16 megapixels. I guess they've got the priority right. There you have a decent camera at the back, and nice camera for the selfies, and then, well, extras in here, just to keep in line with competition, I guess. So on the paper, the 20 megapixel AI camera sounds great, but in practice, well, this comes as a disappointment because the camera overexposes quite a bit. Fortunately, this is fixable. However, you'll have to take manual control of ISO settings and EV setup, so that way you always have your frame correctly exposed, and if you do so, the pictures actually look quite nice. I mean, as long as you use the main sensor. I mean, the macro shots aren't terrible. However, guys, it is 2 megapixels. Frankly speaking, I wish they removed those cameras altogether and improved the quality of the main camera. So, how about that selfie camera? Well, for the most part, it suffers from the same problem, so it's overexposes tiny little bit, so I don't know why this is happening. You can adjust that using settings. And, well, it's not the greatest performance in a low light conditions, but let's face it, it's not a phone that's gonna be competing with the latest and greatest devices. I guess if I was looking for an answer where Ulefone has saved all those money to fit in wireless charging and NFC payments, etc., etc., by skimping on a camera sensor, I guess. I had so much better experience with the S86 in that regard. But let's move on. So let's move to the video, and I do not have great news either, because just like 2G S86, Ulefone Power Armour 14 is limited to 1080p and 30 frames per second. To make things worse, it is overexposing again, and the focus, well, it's not very fast, so for the most part I would be advising you to use a manual focus instead.
Okay, this is front camera. 30 frames, not brilliant, but... It's just a shame. The weather isn't perfect. It's quite cloudy, so the contrast is low. So I can't check the dynamic range.
I think one of the reasons the both cameras are overexposing is to handle the dark situation slightly better, especially during Skype, Zoom or Teams calls. So if you are using your phone for work and just want a serviceable camera to be on that side of that meeting, display your face, etc., you'll be just fine. But don't expect to turn into a Ridley Scott with one of these. it's not the phone for that. So what it's like in use. I am pleased to announce that the device is using Android 11. It comes with 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage, which you can expand thanks to microSD card. You will need to sacrifice one of the 2 SIM card slots, because you can have 2 SIM cards in this baby. But that's a small price to pay to have that ability. The device performs alright, however sometimes I do wish it was a little bit snappier, and I don't mean the animations. Some apps, they open tiny little bit too slow for my comfort, leaving you that split second of a I wish it was slightly quicker. But it is what it is, and to be honest, that's about the biggest complaint I could come up with. The ROM itself, even though it's not a stock Android, which I probably would prefer, it comes with interesting customizations and some automation options which you can select yourself and make the phone truly yours. There is enough in there to keep you engaged and keep you modify your phone and play with for a while until you get the configuration of your phone that you like. There is also inclusion of an easy launcher, which frankly speaking looks terrible. However, anyone with fat fingers, gloves, or an elderly person with not so keen knowledge on smartphones will probably appreciate the ease of use. I mean, it's optional, so I'm not going to complain about it. And there is a reason for having headphone jack, because the speaker is on one side, so if you consume the media in a horizontal orientation, it's gonna come from one side. It's annoying, but on the positive side, speaker is incredibly loud, especially if you're sitting in a very small room and consuming the media. That's the face I do when I set it too loud. But having that volume and ability to watch stuff in a full sunshine, plus being backed by massive battery, provides you with hours of entertainment wherever you go. So speaking of entertainment, let's talk about gaming, because some of you probably would like to game for hours. Let's start with something casual. Hades Star, which is as simple as it can get, works beautifully, there's no problem, and you can take advantage of the massive screen on that. I quickly switched to Don't Starve, and again I had a pleasant experience, no problems there, everything was running smoothly. So I stepped it up a notch and launched Minecraft. To my surprise, on the default setting it was working beautifully, so I stepped it up to a 10 chunks loading distance and it was still performing quite well. So that got me thinking, probably should try something more tasking. And for the first time I ran PUBG. I don't know if you heard about this game, it's not as good as PUB, but I've tried it anyway. And again, with the standard definition texture pack that I downloaded on the game, it was working quite well and I had a bit of fun, even though I totally suck at gaming on mobiles. I've ranted enough about this phone, so it's time to reach some sort of conclusion. Now, this is an interesting phone because it comes with a lot of features and a very attractive price point. Now, if you're looking for a secondary headset that you can just take a festival or go and abuse in the mountains, drop it several times, no, I'm not going to drop it again, no, it's no point. Or give it to your kids so they would play those Candy Crusher thing, which they shouldn't really be playing. They should learn how to solder and follow my tutorials, by the way. Then you could be sure that you're not going to have a heart attack the moment this drops on tiles. I had to do it. And while it's not going to replace my primary phone, I will switch to this device thanks to the inclusion of wireless charging and NFC payments. This means every time I need something with a bigger power capacity, I can take this phone with me and enjoy the fact that it's gonna last much longer than my Xiaomi Mi 11. I mean, there's a perfect use case scenario for that. So big thanks to Heka.com for sponsoring this review, and if you're interested what other gadgets they have on the website, then hey, links in the description, including the links to Ulefone Power Armour 14, which I'm going to pick up now. If you don't care about 1080p 60 frames per second and you have extra second to take that perfect snap, then go ahead and do it. Also, leave me a comment in the video description what you think about the phone itself. If you have any other ideas what I should look into, then links aren't great on YouTube because YouTube removes them automatically and I have no access to it. But do follow me on social media, as this is where we can have that conversation. So big thanks to my sponsor, thanks so much to you for watching, And as usual, because I do not have a posting schedule, you'll find out very soon when it's my next video. Take care. Bye.